you can only be you. And that is why you are alive now. And I'm speaking of this particular time in our world. You might look at the world and think things are going really crazy, and you might be in a lot of fear or wondering what's happening or uncertainty or a lot of things going on. But you're here for a specific reason. You're here because you want to accept yourself. I'm going to give you this, and I'm going to talk about it from the perspective that I have gained from taking my course. I mean that. I mean, I've gone back and taken my course, and I'm saying, oh, I understand so much more now. And you wonder why I would say that and why that's so odd, but it's the same thing for every single person, because that's what I've discovered. Every person was born with something within them that only comes out at certain times during their lives, and a lot of times those things that trigger you to come to understand who you are disasters or things happening in the world that get us to see who we are. Let me tell you what I came away with when I studied the entire information that was given with my program, Your Life Operating Instructions, but I began with 4 weeks to your best life. But throughout the entire year, as I told you, I was given this in 2012. But as I go back and look at these, I see every single message, as they said, was preparing us for this time in our world now, because we're moving through a huge change. It is not difficult to see that's what's going on, which is why you're uncomfortable, afraid, and probably because you have not accepted who you are. I mean, the first thing that I got to understand is that why haven't you thought about the fact that you don't live forever? You're in a physical body and you're here to offer something to the world. But when you can't accept that you're that person who could offer something, then your life goes a little crazy, and then the world goes that way. I'm saying that we're all affecting what is happening in our world. But when we think that we're that small, it's difficult to get that awareness. But we are each on an individual evolutionary journey, meaning that the time in our lives where these things begin to make sense to us is when it was appropriate for us. For me, this was obviously the time, because I went back and started looking at things. Let me tell you something. Every message that I would go back and see, it made complete sense as to what's happening now. This one I came up with, this is from January 3rd of that year, and you are continually working on yourself. It's talking about self-acceptance, and it used working in quotes, meaning that we're in that continual, always, because we're eternal. This life is what I'm talking about, but we're always working on becoming more. That's why we feel uncomfortable, afraid at times, and all of that. In all of my channeling sessions, what came through was that we use fear and doubt to get ourselves to a place where we really love ourselves. That's what's going on. And the more of us who do that, then the world is different, when we again know that we have that much ability and influence. And as I go back through these, and I'll just read a couple more just to give you the idea of what they really wanted us to think about in this time, because when more of us do it, we start to change what is happening in the world. The next one, communication. Communication is always available for you when you decide to pay attention, meaning that we always have guidance, but we don't always believe it and follow it. I didn't, because it seemed weird. How could I have received this? How could this be valuable? And the reason it becomes that is I had to go back and look at it and do it myself. And that was the biggest change that I experienced. Let me give you a couple more. And you'll kind of see, and I can see as I look back at these, I can see that other people during that time in 2012, when I was publishing these, people were responding because there was something different about them that I couldn't recognize. And with every client that I work with, I can see that you don't recognize what's within you. And so I had to kind of figure this out for myself. This one, at times your doing will be more valuable for you when you simply than simply staying in your thinking. Okay, let me read that again. At times your doing will be far more valuable for you than simply staying in your thinking. Wow, have I done that one a lot? Meaning that we can have intellectual understanding of certain things, but then we don't move. We don't take any action. We don't tell anyone else about it. I did that for many, many years because, again, we have this fear of judgment somehow. And we have to understand who we are, and then the judgment won't matter. The entire premise of this program, of my work, of the 4 weeks, you can see, the entire premise was to get each of us to understand how necessary we were in the world now. Meaning that every person, their energy, your essence, was important in terms of causing evolution to occur. This is a big change in the world, and as Wilhelm kept saying, it's a restructuring. And so we haven't done this. That's why it feels so chaotic. But also chaos breeds unity, and that's where we're going. But the entire point was, each of us are here now to heal, to become unified within ourselves. Meaning that you need to own who you are. I had to come to that. I had to accept that I received something. You have to accept that you have something. You just haven't uncovered it. Now I understand the process. It just takes time and using the available sciences that are now here, neuroscience, we know that. We saw so many people talking about it yesterday, so many processes, so many people online and coaches talking about exactly the same thing. So this is just a time where you decided to be alive, and think about that. Just if you give yourself that opportunity to think that you chose this and that what is in front of you is something that you wanted to move through, which is mainly going to be your fear and doubt. I will tell you that's what it is. Your fear and doubt about your importance and why you're on the earth. And what I came away with after studying my own work is knowing that everyone is that important, that we just aren't willing to find out all the time. But my understanding, again, individuation was so important in putting this all together, because then we understand how each of us are important. And when we start to understand our importance, think about this. When we get our importance, then we can see that in others, and we stop the systemic kind of divisions and hatred that we've put into the world that's causing wars to erupt. And we each have that ability because we're that powerful. And think about and ask yourself, why would you not be the one who could change everything? Why would you not be that one? Well, I'm going to answer that question for myself, and everyone else will do what they feel with that. But I know that now, I'm tomorrow, as a matter of fact, I'm taking my program to on a larger platform, and I'm so grateful because it will get it to many more people. And I know that it's going to make a difference, because when we have more people who know who they are, who love themselves, who become empowered, the world changes, and we don't allow the other parts of the world to take over and cause us to live in fear and doubt. All right, you'll get a lot out of this. You'll understand this very soon.